All right. Hey, Jeannie. Hey, Sandy.
Hey Kat, hey Sandy.
Hey girls, how you doing?
We're doing great. Thank you. How about you?
I'm hanging in there. I'm having getting ready for a little tasting with you, our little
What?
isolation libation, if you will.
I love it. Isolation libation, new hashtag.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. We can start with that. Mm.
Yum. We'll dive more into that in a moment, won't we?
Yes. Today's Wednesday, April 8th, 2020. The world has changed quite a bit, hasn't it? We have, my name's Kat Wright. This is Jeannie Kalasa. And then we have Sandi Lucchesi, who's a certified sommelier with us today and also a international wine consultant. So Sandi, thank you so much for taking time to be with us today.
My pleasure.
So I thought I'd get started by letting you tell us a little bit more about you and what you do.
Sure. I've been in the wine industry for 25 years now. I started my own company, A Sense of Wine. It'll be 14 years this April, this month.
Oh, wow. Happy anniversary.
Yay.
Thanks. Super excited because it's challenging to go out on your own, as you know. I left corporate life. I really wanted to find a fun, entertaining, interactive way to talk and teach wine instead of the formal white linen way that I had to learn. It was really hard and it wasn't fun. And so I created A Sense of Wine to really learn about wine fun and interactive.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. How did you begin? How did you decide to, when you said you left the corporate world, did you just say, hey, I'm going to go for it? How did you kind of get kickstarted?
I did. I had all my certifications with the Court of Master Sommeliers and the Society of Wine Educators and the Culinary Institute of America. So I felt well armed with some good knowledge and a teaching background as well. So I used to teach national sales teams about wine and curriculum development. And so I felt really well armed with that to go out and make it attainable, not only for consumers, but also I work with wineries and other businesses to develop their staff training and curriculum.
Excellent. Can we back up a little bit? You mentioned, and I feel like I know a little bit about like what a sommelier is, and I know there's different levels of sommelier. Can you tell us really quickly, because I know there's like level 1, level 2, there's only several hundred master sommeliers in the world. How does that rate, like where are you in that level and how does that system work?
It's in depth. It's a self-study program, although there are more materials and obviously online training, which helps now versus back when I became a sommelier. I'm an advanced level, so I'd be considered level 2, which is a level right below the master. Okay. So I am not a master. I have no desire to go that far and take away from my life.
Yes. It is a lot.
It is a lot. It's incredible.
Yeah.
And I really want to keep wine interesting and fun. Mm-hmm. And I'm always going to continue learning. You'll never learn it all. So that's always going to be there for me. So I do continuous education all the time. I go to tastings. I host tastings. I still travel around the world, which is great because that's a great way to learn about wine as well. So yeah, it's so the Court of Master Sommeliers, just to touch briefly, is more based on restaurant service and food and wine pairings and that type of thing. The Society of Wine Educators is much more about the whole business of wine growing, wine making, wine marketing. It really is a deep dive into soils around the world and grape varietals. So it's much more, to me, more challenging. Yeah. And of course, the Culinary Institute is all about food, which I happen to love as well. So kind of combining those 3 passions.
So what's your favorite food and wine pairing?
Eek! Today?
Yeah, right now, if you had to have something for dinner tonight to pair with, you know, a great wine you have, what would those 2 things be?
Well, interesting. We're having stir fry tonight. So we're having a vegetable stir fry with duck. And so that's a little tricky one because if you want to make it a spicy stir fry, then I would have a Riesling with it because anytime you put a lot of spice and those types of, and heat into a dish, then you really need something with just a touch of sweetness to it. That'll take that heat away and kind of calm it down on your palate. I'm kind of a plain Jane. I don't like a lot of spice in my food and heat like that. So with the duck in it, I'm going to have a Pinot Noir.
Okay.
With my stir fry.
The Pinot Noir to me goes with everything.
Pretty much, right? Pretty much. Yeah.
So with to kind of talk about right now, you were mentioning being able to travel the world and learn, keep your education alive by visiting different regions. And right now travel's on hold for everyone. How are you seeing the coronavirus impacting the wine industry? Obviously, we know you, and you do a lot of events with us, and create and design and develop programs for corporate groups. And so we're not seeing those. But from a wine aspect, like the grape growing and the wineries and the wine growers and winemakers and sommeliers, how are you seeing the coronavirus impact, and how is that? If you have information, I'm not sure how much you're talking to actual winemakers, is that impacting the grapes that are on the vine right now and people working in the fields and, in the vineyards and harvest for 2020? What do you know about all of that?
Great question. I've been in touch with a lot of people. I live in the Dry Creek Valley of Healdsburg, and I farm a little bit of grapes myself as well. The good news is that wine consumption is in double digits right now. Everybody on lockdown. So they're experiencing a lot of fabulous growth in that area. Up until this point, there's been a little bit of a glory day for the wine industry. There's been a lot of premiumization. People were starting to buy up and were spending more money. On the heels of that, before Corona, there's also been a lot more surplus coming onto the market. So we've anticipated that there'll be a little bit of a glut and that prices will not be able to increase, that people won't bear that. And then now, of course, this happened. And so it's a little bit of a double whammy where there's a lot of wine on the market. Prices probably will not increase in the near future. And people are definitely drinking more, which is good. And wineries have become very savvy and pivoting very quickly on how to get that wine into consumers' hands. A lot of the wineries will allow you to drive up, and they'll load you up and off you go. A lot of them are offering free shipping. A lot of winemakers, this is really cool. A lot of winemakers are now doing tastings, virtual tastings. Yeah. And it's a great way for the public to get FaceTime with winemakers, which is so rare now.
Yeah.
So some positive things coming out of it.
Yeah. A lot of creativity. People have to be creative in these times and figure out new ways to do what they do. And it's not a bad thing, right? I mean, this may change a lot of things, the way we were able to do things. So
absolutely. And the trick is to just keep an open mind and be creative, like you said. And I love that about our industry. It's not as old and stoic as some people seem to think.
Yeah.
There's also a lot of competition from other beverages, which has been putting the wine industry on its high alert as well. There's cannabis, there's seltzer, there's hard cider. So there are a lot of other things that have been sort of in the pipeline that we're aware of, that we need to make sure that wine is good, there's a good value for it, and it's available.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All very good points.
Yeah, good questions.
Yeah, well, thanks. So I thought, why not just get into the goods and what we're here to really do, which is drink some wine, and have you walk us through a little wine tasting.
Sure, happy to.
All right.
Happy hour somewhere, right?
Yes, it's always, well, it's almost 5 o'clock here, and it's definitely 5 o'clock somewhere on the planet, right? So, well, cheers to everyone.
Cheers, cheers, cheers. And in our household, we've invoked the airport rules, where when you travel in an airport, you get to drink any time you want to. So, though we've invoked those rules at our household for right now.
Yes, especially during this time, there are no rules.
No judge at all. So yeah, we all have some Cabernet. We happen to have some Cabernet in our house. This is the one we're experiencing tonight or enjoying is from Benziger Winery. It's called the Signatera, and this is Sonoma Valley, which is a really sweet spot for Cabernet. It gets the heat that you need for Cabernet to ripen, but it also has the cooling influence of the ocean, so you get a really nice long hang time. And Cabernet, for a lot of people, can be too bold, too big, too strong. It's the king. You know, if Chardonnay is a queen, then Cabernet is definitely the king. So it's a lot of everything. But if you get one like this is a 2014, they seem to mellow out a little bit, and they can be really, really pleasant and drinkable right now. So you don't have to age them 10 years like you're used to. 3, 4, 5 years, and they're really beautiful. Kat, I know you like the big, bold tannins. So if you like that, drink them young, baby. Hit it. So, you know, it depends on your palate. If you like those big, bold tannins, go out and get a young Cabernet. But I'm sure on the market now you can find those that are 3 or 4 years old that'll taste delicious too. Okay. So wine tasting 101 real quick is always the same 4 steps in every order every time. It's sight, then smell, then sip, then summary. Okay. And so what we do in that process is allows us to evaluate the wine. And I think the most important thing about that is that you get to understand your own palate. You know, whether I like it or whether Jeannie likes it or you like it, we each have our own palate. So don't let somebody tell you else what's good and what isn't.
Okay, good point.
Okay, so sight is the first thing. Go ahead, Jeannie.
Oh, no, I was just saying, yeah.
Nope. So sight is first thing, and when I look at a wine, I'm always just looking at the color of it to determine how big, full-bodied it's going to be. For instance, for a red wine, this is a really dark red wine, deeply hued, so I know it's going to be big and bold. That tells me that right away. If this were a light Pinot Noir, for instance, then I would expect lighter, fresher fruits, so it's already setting me up for what I'm going to taste. A lot of people ask questions about the legs, right? The glass to the side and you kind of see the legs drip down. That can be an indicator of alcohol or sugar. So if there's sugar in there, it's going to be like syrup and they're going to drip down really heavy and slow. If they drip down at a medium pace, that's kind of what you want to see in a Cabernet. So simple, easy step. The next is swirl. We all know how to swirl. You notice how big my glass is. It's not so I can fill it up fuller, but it does allow me to pour a healthy pour, or as we like to say, a proper pour, and still be able to swirl it. Get those aromas going, because next we're going to smell. First with sight, next we're going to smell. Red wines always have red, dark red fruit, so I'm already thinking, what is this going to smell like? Blackberries, blueberries, dark cherries, plum, and you just take a couple sniffs. And this one, to me, definitely smells like plum and kind of blackberries. I don't know what you guys are getting.
Yeah, I get the blackberry kind of tart.
Yeah. Everyone has a different sense of smell. So this is one of the fearful moments when people smell wine and they go, oh, I don't know what to say. Yeah. Just smell it and think of what it reminds you of. And whatever you smell, you're right.
Blackberry.
Yeah, really, really jammy. Lots of forward fruit.
Jammy. That's a good word, jammy.
Yeah,
jammy.
Lots of fresh
fruit.
fruit.
I can sit in my jammies and smell the jammies.
Smell jammy in my jammies. I like it. And then next we take a sip, and this is just to sort of take a sip, and also just to sort of cleanse our palate and get ready. So cheers and take a sip.
Cheers.
And that's how we typically enjoy wine. We take a sip and we go, oh, I like that, or I don't, or it's really fruity, or it's really not. Yeah. We go a little bit deeper, as you know, in some of our classes, where we'll actually put the wine on our palate for just a couple seconds, and make sure you switch it around a little bit on the front of your teeth and the top of your mouth and the sides of your cheek, and hold it there for a few seconds, because you really want to feel the acid and the tannin. Acid will make you salivate. Tannin is that coarseness, that dryness that you feel in the front of your teeth. And if you just kind of take a sip, it goes down so fast you don't get to feel that sensation. So we'll taste this and just swish it around for a second and see what you feel. Definitely some tannin on this wine.
I feel that sort of chalky, not chalky, but it dries against your teeth a little bit.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about when you say you want to swirl it and you want to have those sensations. Why? I mean, why not just drink it? Is this more if you're wanting to really educate yourself on wine and what are we learning from that?
You're actually just trying to understand your own palate, for one, which is important for me, for people to understand their own palate, and also to see if the wine is balanced. When winemakers, you often hear them talk about their craft and what they're looking for and expression of the grape, and they want the wine to be balanced. And when they're talking about balance, it means we want to have a beginning, a middle, and an end to a wine, and it all needs to be seamless. So if it's a dark red wine, I'm expecting dark red fruits like blackberry and cherry. I expect some heavier tannins. I expect some body and weight to it. So if I don't get any of those as we're going along in the process, and I go, I don't know if they hit the mark on it or not. So
Gotcha.
it's kind of twofold. And some people go, oh, there's not enough tannin in here for me. I like a lot of tannin. And some people will say, oh, that's too much tannin. So in that way, you're understanding your own palate.
Gotcha.
And then you can go to that producer or that region and go, oh, that was the one that had the lighter tannin. I like that style. Let me try that for a while. So that's a really good question, Kat, of why we do this little process. It just kind of helps you understand your own palate and be able to find the words to explain it.
Okay.
So what would you say, Sandi, is the level of tannin in this one? Would you say this is heavy, medium, light? Just for, I'm not very educated in Cab Sauv, so maybe, where are we on the scale, I guess, right now with this?
Well, I love that you brought up that we actually measure. Instead of using words like some, a little, we do use light, medium, or heavy tannin, so that I know what I'm talking about. I say, oh, this is heavy tannin, not that it had some tannin. I put this at medium plus. This has nice structure to it. It's really holding up well. I would say this is a medium plus on tannin, and the acid would be about medium. So again, following kind of that balance, it's backing up the fruit that we had, not overwhelming, but following along on that balance. What do you think, Kat?
I like it. It's so I do like I really like all wines. I'm definitely more of a red wine drinker than a white wine drinker. However, Jeannie has turned me on to some really great rosés.
Duly noted.
Yeah, and so I do enjoy a good white and a good rosé, but I am definitely a red wine drinker. I like this. The tannin's a little bit too much for me. But it's not too bad. Like there's some that really just make you pucker, and I do not like that. So this is pretty good. I mean, I would definitely drink it, but it's but I can feel the tannins a little bit more in the front of my mouth. So I probably will do that, like what we just did, where you sip it and really let it rinse through your mouth. But from here forward, I think I'll just drink it.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
I'll just let it go down the hatch.
Just let it go down the hatch. I don't need to swirl it around anymore. What would you pair this with? And maybe hold up the label again so everybody can see what this wine is. So if anybody at home wants to try it, and what would maybe a good pairing be? Because I know everybody always says, oh, with a good Cabernet Sauvignon, you have to have a steak. And, everybody has these sort of stereotypical, like, this is what you pair with this. But do you always pair this with a steak? And if so, why? And maybe what else would you pair this with if you're not a steak eater?
Sure. Well, number one, we just finished the last step about sight, smell, sip, and then we did the summary of it, right? About what we liked about it and what we didn't. So that's kind of concluded that. And then the next step is, well, would I drink this alone or would I have this with food? When you have a big full-bodied red wine like this, I think food is pretty mandatory. It's hard to drink big full-bodied red wines alone by themselves. Maybe a half a glass, maybe a glass, but then your palate is fatigued and you need something to smooth out those tannins and enjoy the wine more. By the way, again, this is a Signaterra by Benziger Cabernet Sauvignon. It's the Sonoma Valley, and this vintage was 2014. Anytime I have those big tannins, I need what I call the tannin slayer, and that is anything with fat or protein. Okay. So a steak, sure, but not all cuts have a lot of fat in them. New York strip may be too lean for that, or London broil would certainly be too lean. Anything with fat. So charcuterie, one of my favorite things in the whole wide world.
Cheese.
Yeah, cheese would do the trick. Also anything weight-wise that is the same as the wine. So a heavier stew. things like that. So I go a lot also with the weight of the wine and the weight of the food. I wouldn't pair this with a delicate seafood salad. It would overwhelm it. So you can use that guideline as well. But really drink what you like and eat what you like is, you know, don't let people like me tell you what you should be eating and drinking. I can give suggestions, try this, but it's more of a mouthfeel sensation for me of did it really complement or contrast.
Gotcha. Yeah, it was interesting. I did many years ago when I was in the restaurant side of the industry, we did a weekly pairing with food and just pairing it with the food that we had at the restaurant so we could help sell it and guide the guests to, you know, a better experience. And it was really fascinating because there were some cheeses, and I love cheese, but some cheeses you have, and they're super pungent, like a really big blue or like a Cambozola or something that's just a really strong cheese. And then paired with the right wine, wow, it just changes the whole palate. You know, you go from this really intense cheese to almost having a sweet creaminess to it because you put the right wine with it. And it was just fascinating how when you do have enough, and I don't know always how to do that. So when in doubt, I usually just get a Pinot Noir, but it is fascinating how wine and food can really complement each other.
Yeah, and if you want to take a really, really broad stroke against that, a really general kind of thought is red wines with hard cheeses and white wines with soft cheeses.
Interesting.
And it's a good place to start. And then try and mix and match. See what your palate likes. You know, get some soft cheeses and have a red wine and a white wine. Try a Camembert with a Chardonnay. And then try the Camembert with the Cabernet and see what happens. And it will change. But whether it's favorable is up for you to decide. But that's a really great way to get a good head start.
Yeah, good advice.
Another thing I like to encourage people to do to find their own palate and discover wines is at a restaurant. As you just mentioned, Kat, is to just order a wine by the glass, something you've never tried. Talk to the somm or look on the descriptors on the menu and just try something you've never had. And you're out $20 and you might find a gem that you're going to like for the rest of your life. And you're not committed to buying a whole bottle. And you have food with it.
So other than, of course, our beautiful California wines in Napa and Sonoma and Russian River Valley, Healdsburg area, where is one of your non-California favorite wine regions?
Oh gosh, well, for white wines, Sauvignon Blanc in particular, which I'm crazy about. I love Sauvignon Blanc. I love New Zealand. I love the fresh style, the kind of citrusy, almost grassy notes that region is really known for. I love Sancerre in France. For red wine, I'd have to go to Burgundy for Pinot Noir.
Okay.
Again, it's such a good versatile grape and can really go with a lot of different things and is enjoyable all the time.
Okay. So New Zealand, maybe Jeannie and I will have to pop over to New Zealand when travel bans are lifted and we can hop on a plane again.
Okay, only if you take me with you.
Yeah, we'll all go.
It's a deal. It's a deal. It could be a girls' trip, and to travel with the sommelier, I mean, come on.
I mean, let's do it.
It'd be amazing.
Yeah. So I have a fun question for you. If you could, you know, there's a question that people always ask about who could you dine with if you could dine with anybody in the world. So who would you go wine tasting with, alive or dead? If you could pick anybody, past or present, to go wine tasting with, who would it be?
Oh gosh, that's a great question. Oh gosh, I'm gonna have to think about that. That's really tough.
Okay, we could come back to it. For now,
Okay,
we'll
let's
just
come
say
back.
we'll say
I got
Jeannie and I for
50
now.
names coming up.
Yeah.
We'll settle on Jeannie and I for now, going to New Zealand.
There you go. There you go.
You could have, and we'll loop back to that question. So think about it, because I think that would be a fun question to know why. Like, is it a restaurateur? Is it a winemaker? Is it a famous actor or politician? I don't know. It just, and why? I think it would be fun to know. So think about it. We could always come
Okay,
back to that.
I've got a couple. I have to just narrow it down.
Okay. So kind of to loop back a little bit to what it is that you do. So, you know, with EventWright, you've done a lot of events with us for corporate groups, you know, black glass tastings and wine pairings and blending wines and cheese and wine tables and things and the aroma sessions. Talk a little bit about some of the activities that you do, and do you have a favorite?
Oh, good question again. I do have a favorite. I really like the aroma sessions that we do with all of the fresh aromas. It's kind of the chart actually behind me. I like that because you really get to put a name and a voice to what you're smelling and tasting. And that's the biggest challenge for most people in wine. It was for me when somebody would shove a glass of wine in my nose and say, "Tell me what you smell."
Right.
You know, and I'd say wine. So being able to connect the aromas that I can see and remember and smell and apply that to what I'm smelling in wine has been probably the greatest tool I've had. And it's also beautiful. I mean, you have the table of, you know, 100 fresh aromas in glasses, and it's just stunning.
It is stunning. And so anybody that's watching that doesn't know what we're talking about, if you go to the EventWright Instagram page, you'll see some photos that we've taken of aroma stations that we've that Sandy's put together for us. But they're just beautiful. You almost don't need a floral bouquet or floral centerpieces for the tables, because Sandy sets up the table with these gorgeous glasses, all filled with different fruits and vegetables and herbs and greenery and florals, and it just is a stunning presentation. So it's definitely a very unique experience too.
Yeah, and I like the wine and chocolate pairing.
Oh, who does that?
and
the perfect end to everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are good ones. Okay, so I wanted to, well, do we want to loop back? Do you have any ideas on who you would go wine tasting with?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd like to go wine tasting with Julia Child.
Oh,
good one.
That is
That's
a good
really
one.
Good.
Yeah, I think her energy and enthusiasm and joie de vivre, and her, you know, obviously her knowledge of food. I think she'd be my gal, and we should take her to New Zealand. I wish.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good one. I think that's a good one. She would be like a good, any kind of companion, whether it's a dining, just a dinner companion, a wine tasting companion, a girls trip, anything. She'd be amazing. I agree, hands down.
Yeah, I bet she could hang, right? Like totally hang out.
Totally. Yeah, she absolutely could.
Yes. Okay, so I have one final question for you. And I don't know if, I think we kind of touched on this at the beginning, but somebody that was wanting to get into this business, you know, some young person right out of school, really excited about wine, wanting to get in to be a sommelier, wanting to break into the business. What's one piece of advice that you would give to that person? And do you have any personal story that you would share about what you wish you would have known entering into the business?
Oh, wow. If you really want to be on the sommelier side, I would get a tasting group together and find a mentor that can oversee that tasting group. Because you really need to taste. You need to hear other people's palates. You need to refine your tasting ability. You need to taste a lot of wine. It's expensive. So with a group, you can split that cost. That's one of my fondest memories of how I was able to train, was 12 of us. We still get together to this day. This is 20 something years later.
Oh, wow.
Fun.
Yeah, and it's fun, and it's a little competitive, but the idea is to make sure that we're all learning. And so also to find a mentor that can mentor you along your way. That's really, really important. And somms and master somms are more than happy. The mentorship program is really, really encouraged, and we like to pay it forward and help anyone out that we can.
Excellent. That's awesome. Yeah, pay it forward. Keep making good winemakers and people that know about wine.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Bringing it all together. I love that. Well, I know that you started talking with us a few weeks ago when the whole coronavirus thing came into play. And so like you said, we've sort of all had to pivot and come up with new and creative ways to get wine to people. So can you talk a little bit about that? And then we can keep people posted as we move forward and really develop the program. But I'd love to hear a little bit about what your thoughts are on bringing wine country to other people, since not everybody can come to us now.
Yeah, I think since shipping is still allowed, which is great, I love the idea of shipping out the same wine to everybody and having an online chat about it. And it can be a formal way of me walking you through it, which I think would be totally fun. We could throw in cheese with that and experiment with a couple cheeses or chocolates. There's a lot of flexibility in this, depending on what the consumers and what people want. Right. And this whole virtual thing has just been so successful that I don't think it's a far leap to be able to do that. They, even if we don't ship it to them, like you said, they could go to the market or get their favorite wine from their wine club, as long as it's the same varietal, perhaps. And we can build on that. So yeah, lots of fun ways that we can do it in your home. And then of course, when this is all done, then we can be turnkey for you and arrive at your doorstep or your building or your campus or whatever and make it happen.
Excellent. Yeah. Hopefully that comes soon.
Yes.
Yes, for everybody, right?
Yeah.
I applaud both of you for doing this. I think it's just great to, Gina and I were talking about it a moment before, about how, you know, just staying on top of everyone's mind, that we're still here when we all bounce back from this. We're ready, we're not sitting dormant, that we're being creative. If anything, the creative juices are really, really flowing. So it's been an opportune time in that way. Yeah.
Sort of regroup and figure out what the next direction is going to be, and building on what we've already built, you know, we've already developed, and making it bigger and better, and bringing it to everybody where they are now until they can come and be with us here again in this beautiful wine country.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for including me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Sandy. We really appreciate you and your partnership, and it's been so much fun wine tasting with you today.
Super fun. Thank you so much.
Be well, be safe, be healthy.
Likewise, back at ya.
All right, bye.
Bye.